Bank Plus Studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds, brought to you by the Bone-In Ribeye, Kessler Prime and the Renaissance. Pair it with the Four Roses Bourbon Manhattan. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS, live in the Bank Plus studio. The show is presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. You can watch the show right now. Go to YouTube, youtube.com, YouTube app, search Out of Bounds Sports. Welcome in Steve Robertson, another signing day. Steve Robertson, State Insider, genespage.com, 247 Sports. Steve, what is the latest on Ty Cooper, defensive lineman out of Louisville, Mississippi?
Well, he is set to announce his decision and signing at a 10 a.m. ceremony at his high school, but Louisville will have several signed. Ty will go last, and so we expect that to happen somewhere around 10:30. But all indications are at this point, and I've checked again as early as this morning, that he plans to be a Mississippi State Bulldog later today. And, we've got some stories ready and some advanced quotes and that sort of stuff. So anything other than Mississippi State at 10:30 would be a big surprise.
Give me his measurables, height and weight, as close from what you know. I know y'all didn't get to see these guys as much at all this year because of COVID, but what do you hear as far as height, weight today?
Yeah, he's 6'4", 245, and his wingspan is probably a little bit it's expansive compared to the average player of that height and weight. He's got a really, really long wingspan there, which kind of enables him to get his hands up in the passing lanes. And watched some film on him again last night, and he's exactly what you want, in a rush end. He's a guy that has an explosive first step, but if he can't get there, he can be disruptive enough to force an incompletion or, create some urgency within a quarterback to deliver a football before he's quite ready. And, this is a guy that helped lead the Wildcats to a state championship, his second in 4 years as a high school player. And, of course, one of the better players on the Mississippi side, the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game, and clearly the best defensive lineman in the state of Mississippi for this class.
Where's his future? Edge rusher, inside, or both?
I think it's going to depend on how much weight he can carry. I mean, when you look at his frame, he's just a guy that could put on 25, 30 pounds without really hurting his athleticism or dexterity. But I could see him being a guy that they put even more weight on, and he slides inside and plays with his hand in the ground. Tyrone Shorter at times has compared him, and this is a guy that would know, but he thinks that he could be utilized in a way similar to what Jeffrey Simmons was. Not to say that they're the same caliber of player, but, Jeff Simmons was a long, lean defensive end type guy until he got in the college weight room, and the same could be said for Chris Jones. I mean, and so you could see Ty Cooper kind of following that same path of development.
Okay, well, now John Lewis is considered, I think, a linebacker, but a lot of people believe he's an edge rusher. Like, compare the two. Do you think John Lewis out of Germantown eventually ends up as an edge rusher, Steve?
Yeah, and he's being recruited, at that Sam linebacker position, so they do plan to kind of stand him up. And I do think when you look at Ty and you look at John, from a frame standpoint and probably some growth potential, that, Ty probably has the ability to add more mass than, say, John does. And I think John's going to be an incredible player. But I do think that he stays out on the edge, and and they'll know how to use him. That's the thing too with this 3-3-5 scheme. They kind of understand what that Sam linebacker spot's supposed to do, and it's a little more dynamic than perhaps some other positions within the defense, because sometimes he would play with his hand in the ground, and other times you stand him up and he's got the speed and athleticism to get out and cover in the flat. So, yeah, I think that he's a guy that his long-term potential is probably a lot like how State utilized Montez Sweat at Mississippi State.
Steve Robertson on the Coors Light guest line. So let me make sure I have this right. Since signing day, Mississippi State has landed a 4-star defensive end from Florida, if Ty Cooper holds, that's a 4-star defensive lineman from Louisville, and a 5-star cornerback from the state of Texas who's transferred in from the Texas Longhorns.
And the 4-star running back from the state of Louisiana, and Catravian Hargrove. And he is set to formalize his selection at 11 a.m. And that's the thing, too, is I don't know why I set a clock this morning other than to do radio with you, because, most signing days you get up and you start seeing stuff just kind of, running through social media. There's not a lot that's going to happen this morning from Mississippi State because, number one, you've only got, 3 spots left, and then these decisions are going to be announced later in the morning with Ty Cooper going around 10:30. Hargrove's going to sign at 11, and then there's Caden Bridges out of McGee that, State's made a late push for. Auburn had the momentum. State kind of got back in the game. Auburn looked to close the door. Now State's back in the game. I still expect it to be Auburn, but the Bulldogs are certainly making it interesting this morning.
If they don't land Casey Bridges, is that who you said, out of McGee?
Caden Bridges.
Caden. All right. If they don't land him, what direction do they go with the last spot?
Well, I think at that point you pocket that scholarship and then work the portal. There's a lot of schools out there that are saving a spot or two. I know LSU has got a couple spots left. I believe Ole Miss has a spot or two left too, where you kind of wait and see what's available post-spring. And I do think there will be some value in the portal at that point. You may be glad you have that scholarship. But, certainly if you could get Bridges to go ahead and get in the boat, that's the best-case scenario. But at the end of the day, you don't reach here. That's the big thing here is you don't panic and say, okay, well, we just need a body. Well, no, you don't. You don't just need a body. That's how you end up getting beat is you reach on signing day. And so if they don't get what they want today for that defensive back spot, you pocket that and you get into the spring, and then you kind of see what's available. It's just like it's so crazy how life works. I mean, just yesterday, you had one of the better players of the Oklahoma defense go in the portal, and Brendan Radley Hiles. They call him Bookie, but he's the guy that is available now, and it's like within minutes of him going into the portal, you see about 25 people that work at Mississippi State following him on Twitter and interacting with him, and so I guess you could always see something there. I don't know how quickly he plans to make a decision, but it is clear that State is working every option for that DB spot.
All right, so there you go. All eyes are on Ty Cooper, Louisville, Mississippi, top 10 player, 4-star, 2 state championships at Louisville. And Zach Arnett and the crew want to sign him, and Steve said it's a 10 a.m. decision. So we'll monitor that. Steve, I've only got a couple more minutes here. Steve Robertson, genespage.com will be full of updates throughout the day, 247 Sports. And Ben Howland, I think it's close to over. I think he's done a good job rebuilding the program. There's a lot of good there that he did. 26 turnovers. They're bad on offense, and they don't have a perimeter shooter. Your thoughts?
I think I agree with all of that. I do think that barring something unforeseen, Ben is likely going to get another year to kind of work with this young nucleus of players. But it's disappointing. I mean, you have an 18-5 lead last night. Next thing you know, Arkansas goes on a 33-6 run, and you just simply couldn't answer on the offensive end. There's no semblance of rhythm on offense. It's almost like they're never setting up anything. They just kind of bring the ball down, beat it in the floor, and then take a nail-about shot with a shot clock winding down, hope for the best. And things have to change.
Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show. Go to genespage.com for all your recruiting info and, of course, football, baseball, hoops, 247 Sports, the Boneyard Podcast. Steve Robertson on the Coors Light guest line. Steve, I know it'll be a busy day. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show. So there you go. Ty Cooper is the one that Mississippi State people are following. Ty Cooper, defensive lineman out of Louisville. 2 state championships there, top 10 player, 4-star D lineman. They need another D lineman. Zach Arnett and them have been locked in on him. So we'll see if he holds for Hail State. And we'll go to Oxford at 8:35. Welcome in David Johnson. 247 Sports. Rebels 247. David Johnson will join us at 8:35.